So in today's class, I'll proceed to show you how to sew the corset pattern. So with me now are my patterns, and I'll proceed to remove the pins from them, the patterns from them, since I've already cut them on my material. So observe that all the patterns are complete as I'm showing you in this video. Next up, I'll proceed to arrange my patterns accordingly, notch where the patterns will be joined together so I don't make any mistake after removing my pattern. Because you know earlier I stated in the previous video that the patterns are supposed to be marked at the points or notched where they'll be joined together to avoid making any mistakes. So anyone I forgot to do, I'm going to do them now and place them accordingly so that you can see how they'll be joined. The pattern labeled number 5 will be the first to be joined because it's the center front. Next, number 6 will be joined to number 5. Make sure that they are equal. Observe how the sewing is being done in order to avoid making mistakes. It's joined at the underbust cut down to the end. That's the essence of using your pattern to cut it equivalently and adding your half-inch allowance. Take note. This will be repeated on the other side. I know that we observed earlier that each of the pieces were cut double. So that's why whatever you do to this side, you ensure you do it to the other side. Next, I'll join number 7 to number 6. If you observed previously, number 7 was notched at a particular point, and it's that point that will be the beginning of the joining of number 7 and number 6. Observe. Then proceed to repeat the process for the other side. This is the finished look of 6, 7, and 5. Our next focus is the cups. Now, I'll ensure that all the notched points are indicated in order to avoid making any mistakes. This process is very, very detailed, so you need to take a lot of time. I have proceeded to arrange them accordingly, so the next step is to take off my patterns and start the joining process. I am done with this phase, so I'll proceed to the ironing table where I'll press out my seam. Observe that before I started my ironing process, I notched or nipped the seam allowance of the corset pattern that has been sewn. I repeated this process throughout all the seam allowances in this corset pattern. Then I proceeded to join the breast cup point together. You can observe. Proceeded to join the breast cup at the nipple to nipple point at the starting point for each one respectively. You can observe. I apologize for the too much you can observe, but you have to pay attention to these details. I'll proceed to do the second breast cup, then notch respectively. You can see what I mean by notch for those that are not familiar with the term notching. Notching helps relieve the tension in curved areas to give a smooth crease-like look, to avoid bulging, bumping, all those type of things. That's the essence of notching in any seam allowance. Next up, I'll introduce to you my masking tape and my bias. Now, the bias is going to be used as the boning casing for this project. I'm using a different color so that we'll look and we'll observe the contrasting color, which will enable us to see the difference clearly. I'll proceed to trim off the excess in my seam allowance to avoid bulging while placing my bias tape. I'll repeat this process for all the seam allowances. In the corset bodice, I will then place my bias tape on the seam allowance and sew it down at both edges. This is the boning channel in this project. You can see the look at the front part of the corset. Next, I'll repeat this process for all the channels, but since this is just a mock-up, I'm just going to be using 2 examples for this. I have proceeded back to my ironing board where I'll show you how to iron the breast cup of the corset bodice. You can see I'm using my breast ball, and this will enable the crease after being notched to enable it form well and give you the fitted look and the balanced look on the cup. If you do not have a breast ball, I'll be giving a free tutorial on how to make a breast ball. You can see the finished look. I'll then proceed back to my sewing machine where the final process will be done. I'll be joining the breast cup to the corset pattern. Now, during this joining process, observe that the center of the breast cup, that center line, is supposed to be joined to the center line of the corset pattern also. That's the joining of number 5 and number 6, that joining, you connect them together, and that will serve as your reference point. Make sure you pay attention to this detail to avoid your cups from shifting to one edge. Now after that, you repeat the process for the second one, and that it will be the end of this corset pattern. Next up is the back of the corset sewing and cutting. The process for adding the bone and how to place them correctly will also be shown. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.